Welcome to my channel. My name is Sharon, and this is a channel that is dedicated to all things related to narcissism. In today's video, I'm going to talk to you guys about something I'm really struggling with, something I've really been conflicted about, and I would love your opinion. If this is something you have dealt with, please share what you did. Let me know what you think I should do, because I actually do think I know what I should do, but I don't want to do what I think I know I should do. So what I'm doing instead of anything is nothing. And I'm standing here paralyzed, just not moving in any direction. And I don't want to be that way. What I'm going to talk about today is there any value in fixing a family fractured because of narcissism? Now, even when I said that fractured, no, that's not the way that it is. Families are annihilated by narcissism. Narcissism it's an evil. It's a plague on society. It levels your family. The way you could have been is never going to happen once narcissism is in your life. It affects you. It affects you on a cellular level. And if you are in the unenviable position of being married to a narcissist and having children, you know what hell is. Hell is standing right in front of you. Whatever you do, the dream, of course, is to leave the narcissist, but that is no easy feat. You are going to have to climb Mount Everest to get away from a narcissist. It's a nightmare. And then on top of it, you're having to help your kids navigate this situation. And now you live in fear. Your life is constant fear, and it's horrible. In my case, I had to run away. I had to literally escape my ex. He was getting more dangerous. He was stalking us. It was a bad situation. I had a minor child. We both weren't going to make it. We were both not going to make this. I was forced to abandon everything to get my kids and I to safety. I don't regret it, but I regret that I had to do it. And I deal with it today. Now, this happened almost 3 years ago. I'm finally divorced. I'm living my new life. But Joe explained this. He has a way to describe this that I can understand. I think some of you will be able to relate to this as well. When you're dealing with a narcissist, when you're in the thick of it, you're trying to get out, or you're dealing with it, or they're still in your face, it's almost like you're going through this storm. There's a storm and you're in the cellar, and then you come out and you look around and it's over. The storm is over, but nothing is left. Everything, it just leveled, gutted. There's no buildings, there's debris everywhere. And you're standing there, you got kids by your side, you got your animals, you have nothing in your bank account, and you're trying to figure out how you're going to step forward. What are you going to do? How are you going to deal with this? And you have so much to do. You have so much internal work to do. You have so much to do for your kids. You're starting over. I don't like starting over when my kids are almost grown now. My son just turned 18. This should be a good time in my life. But I don't want to say my life is horrible. It isn't. But I'm dealing with still stuff. I'm stuck from things from the past. I'm dealing with a lot of shock. I think it might be PTSD. I don't know. I don't want to be the type of person that's always a victim. I want to move forward. I desperately want to live my life. But I'm scarred by what has happened. It's horrible. Sometimes I think, like, if I close my eyes and then I open my eyes, maybe I'll be in New Hampshire. Maybe that's where I'll be. Maybe this was all a nightmare. Maybe it didn't happen, but it did happen. And now I'm trying to move forward. I'm trying to get my kids with me to move forward. I want to live a great life. I feel motivated to do that, but it's so challenging. And now I have another challenge. And this is, should I have a relationship with my parents? Like many of you, I realized that, and I think this is how, narcissism, it's like a cancer, it goes through families. You'll sit there when you learn about narcissism and realize, oh my gosh, my parents, in my case, my dad was a narcissist. My ex-father-in-law, he was a narcissist. And as I go back and think about this, to my horror, I realize, oh my gosh, every single person in my family is either a narcissist or codependent. No wonder I ended up in the marriage that I did. That was normal to me. I didn't have any, this is part of the reason that Joe and I wanted to be together earlier than, maybe would have been the best, because we're still both going through divorces. we desperately wanted to raise our kids. He has 2 kids. I have 2 kids. We desperately wanted to raise the rest of our, not the rest, our 4 kids together and have them have some semblance of family, some semblance of normalcy. We desperately wanted that, and we thought we could provide that. And so that was part of why we got together when we did, because you don't have that when you're with a narcissist, and I think in some ways we're the lucky ones. We are the lucky ones because we know it's not like, imagine if I hadn't found out that my ex was a narcissist, if I hadn't found out that I was codependent, that I was doing things that were hurting my kids because I was codependent. Imagine if I hadn't found that out, then my own son would probably be a narcissist. My daughter would probably be codependent, and then it would perpetuate on and on and on. So I realized, like many of you, that I grew up in a narcissistic household. And just like when I learned about narcissism with my ex, and it explained so much, it made sense. Oh, and in fact, to a degree, it was a relief to me because things started making sense. I used to be so confused. I couldn't understand why was my husband doing this? It was like he would literally do the worst possible thing that would hurt me and the kids, and then he would have just no reaction, or he'd blow up, or he'd give me a silent treatment. It made no sense. Now, for me, the difference is that, I grew up in a narcissistic household, but my father was an overt narcissist. My ex was a covert. So my father was very, very vocal about people's faults. My entire childhood, and I'm not here to bash my parents, by the way. I'm here to decide if I should have a relationship with them moving forward, but I just need to fill you in so you understand where I'm coming from. I grew up in a home where my father wanted his family to be the best at everything, I have a brother, so my brother and I were supposed to be the best looking, the best at sports, the best at school, the best this, the most popular this, that, everything. And when you didn't meet the standards that my father had for you, he was very vocal about telling you how pathetic you are, what a loser you are, this, that. It made me hate my life growing up. I can remember I used to sometimes, now I am not a nap person. I cannot nap during the day. Like even if I was sick, it's just me, it's just my own personal thing. I used to nap sometimes when I was in high school so that I could pass time. So I would think, all right, if I could sleep, I'd try to get more hours where I was asleep, because then I would be unconscious for part of the time that I was growing up. So when I was 18, I left and I didn't come back. Now, I always had a relationship with my parents. I always had a relationship with them, but I wasn't a daddy's girl. I wasn't super close to them. I would see them. It was more of an obligation. As time went on and my marriage got worse and worse, my relationship with my parents widened. And it was because, and I think a lot of people do this, Joe and I were talking about this the other day. When you're with a narcissist, you're different than everybody else, or you're not the same. There's just something, like Joe was telling me, he has a brother, he likes his brother, he loves his brother, he likes seeing his brother, but just the thought of having to do something, making a phone call, going over for Christmas, it's like an obligation. Everything's an obligation. It's like the time, and I hope you can understand this, because I feel like I'm explaining it horribly, but just the thought of having to make time for somebody in your family is just, or even a friend, it's too much. And part of it could be Joe and I are in a we're trying to recover and we got a lot going on. But it feels that way. Like you're not like everybody else who gets excited to see their family. It's another chore. It's another obligation. With my parents, I feel that way. The way that Joe talked about his brother, I feel that way. I've never been close to my parents. I always had a relationship with them. I never felt super close to them. The day I moved here with Joe, which will be 3 years in December, I had a big blow up with my parents. Now, I understand where they were coming from. Very few people knew I was coming to move in with Joe. It was a tight secret because I could have been stopped because my son is a minor. I had to escape the state. So until I did that, I was extremely vulnerable, and it was a bad, bad situation. So I couldn't tell my parents I was leaving. I wanted to. I did want to, because I felt guilty about it. I felt bad not telling them, because I knew this was going to be a big shock to them. And it was. My ex, because he was stalking me, found out I had left before I could contact anybody. Well, I was going to contact everybody that same day, but he found out earlier than I expected, because he was stalking me. So when that happened, I talked to my parents, and they were in an uproar, because at this point, my ex had that. So when I spoke to my parents, this is what was going on. I believed I was about to be arrested for kidnapping. My ex told his parents, who are friends with my parents, that the police were on their way to arrest me right then for kidnapping my son. So here I was, already beyond there was more stress on me than I could handle. I just left my entire life. I abandoned my house. I'm in a different state with my kids, and I find out I'm about to be arrested by the police. We had a sick dog at the time. My dog had cancer. So at that time, so I'm expecting the police are coming on over right now, and I'm trying to talk to my daughter about how to take care of the sick dog, trying to talk to Joe, because now he's suddenly watching all these kids and all these animals, and I don't know what's going to happen to me. And then my father's telling me that the police are trying to get in touch with him, and he's not going to, he said to me, I'm not going to lie to the police for you. Never asked him to do that, but I think he thought he was going to be in trouble if he didn't turn me in, essentially. So at that point, I was standing in Joe's garage about to have a complete mental breakdown. And he's like, just stop, just block them. We got to deal with this immediate situation right now. Blocking my parents on my phone led to I haven't spoken to them in almost 3 years. Like I told you, my father is a narcissist. Yes, he is. However, and I also want to say, because I really don't, I don't want to sound like I'm bashing my parents. I don't have any desire to do that. I'm trying to tell you where I am from my own point of view. He's never been diagnosed with narcissism. My ex-husband has been, but my father has not been. Maybe he wasn't a narcissist, but he wasn't a kind person. So I don't have that connection where it's my parents and I enjoy spending time with them. My father lately, over the last few months, has been trying to initiate contact. He has emailed me. I have been in email communication with them. I've been in email communication, particularly with my father, for over 2 years. But the last, say, 6 months, he's really been pushing this. Not so with my mother, but that's another story. It doesn't really matter for this, just so you know where I am. My kids have a email relationship with their grandparents as well. My family, like many of yours, has been absolutely destroyed. A bomb went off in the middle of it because of narcissism. And as I'm recovering and I'm learning, oh my gosh, like everyone's a narcissist, and or a codependent. I'm codependent, and I'm desperately trying to make life different for my kids. But at the same time, I want my kids to have family. I want my kids to have relatives and cousins and grandparents. I want that. My ex's side of the family, they're gone. They have no contact with us, with the kids. They sided completely with my ex, and my kids and I have been shut out. So there's nothing on that side of the family. That's been painful to my kids, because my ex's brother was actually their favorite uncle. Like it's not a good situation. It's horrible. We're dealing with it. For that, it's easy, because they're essentially dead. So we need to move on without them. Not so with my parents. My father is the type of person. Now, I don't know this because I haven't really had a relationship with him for years, because even when I was still living in New Hampshire, my parents live in Massachusetts, I only saw them, we weren't close. So I saw them on holidays or, the kids' birthdays. That was it. Weren't close. It was an obligation. My kids, though, they love their grandparents, because my father's different with them than he ever was with me. He's one of those people, I think, where they're kind of a jerk when they're younger, and then they get older, they become a grandparent, and then you look at this parent who was horrible to you, and they're just this great grandparent. And I'm okay with that. I've forgiven my parents. And, in reality, just to be real with you, because I don't want to just tell you I was a perfect person and my parents were just terrible. I was not the perfect daughter. There were things I did that I'm sure hurt my parents, and I forgive them. I'm good with it. I don't hold a grudge. But because I have this there's like this, there's no connection to them. The thought of having to rebuild a relationship with them or build some type of relationship with them I don't want to do it. And I guess that's really what it comes to. I feel God pushing me to do this. I feel like I should, even though my life has been extremely difficult and it's been horrible in some ways. I really do feel blessed. I feel I'm blessed beyond a lot of people. I know there are people, maybe you, listening to me right now, that's thinking to themselves, I would love that to be my problem. I would love that to be my problem. I'm still dealing with the narcissist. I don't know what I'm going to do. My kids are affected. He's making my life a living hell. She's doing this or that. I understand that. And I feel blessed to be in the position that I'm in. Even having this problem is a blessing. I get that. Because there's, I'm the adult here, so it's just my kids and I'm the one that's going to have to eventually call them or see them or whatever it is. And there's something in me that is resisting that. Now, like I said, I didn't have a good childhood growing up, so some of you might be thinking, well, that's it. If your father's a narcissist, have nothing to do with him. I don't know that I don't know that that matters at this point. It is possible that if I started having a relationship with my parents, that suddenly my father would become a jerk again. I get that. He's sent me some emails that have not been bad at all. In fact, he said he misses us. He wants to see the kids. And I want my kids to have a family like that. But is it real? My father really was a jerk growing up. My mother is still not talking to me, so I have to deal with that. But should I try? Should I try to do something? Should I try to do something? Call them. Even calling them seems awkward because how do you talk to somebody they haven't spoken to in 3 years? What do you say? And I get it. Like, 'cause I think about my kids. If I hadn't spoken to one of my kids, I would want them to call me no matter what. I would do everything I could not to make it awkward because these are my kids and I love them. And I don't know, as my parents are getting older, is that what they're thinking? I had a shock recently because I would tell you I don't believe I love my parents, and I'm sorry to say that, but that is what I feel. I had this dream recently. I was driving a car. This shocked me, this dream. I was driving a car, and I don't know if it was my fault or this bus's fault, but all of a sudden I was going to get hit by a bus. It was a huge white bus. I knew I was going to die. I knew I had seconds. I was completely, I had accepted it. There was no way I was getting out of this. And this is what I said. I said, I love you, Mom and Dad. That was the very last thing I said when I knew I was about to get killed by a bus hitting me. So maybe there is something down there. I don't know. I've been dealing with a lot of shadow work this year. I can't stand shadow work. It's necessary to heal, but it's difficult. It's very difficult for me. I don't like doing it. I'm desperate to live my life. So I've been doing a lot of shadow work. I've made a commitment in January that I was going to really try and do what God tells me to do. I feel like God wants me to initiate contact with my parents. Joe's always like, well, you don't have to have this relationship with them all the time, or you don't have to do everything with them, see them all the time, or talk to them every day. Because that's, I think, a fear that I have, that suddenly, my mother's the type when she'll call 10 times a day. She calls, you don't answer, she calls again and again and again. And Joe's like, well, yeah, but that you are strong enough now to put a stop to that, to say something like, Mom, I'll talk to you on Sunday, but I'm busy, or whatever. I understand that. And maybe part of me is I'm feeling like a little girl, or just the thought of getting mixed up with somebody that I highly suspect is a narcissist. I don't know. I think the main issue I'm having is that I don't feel connected to them. It's awkward. I don't necessarily want to do that, but I want my kids. If my kids can have a relationship with them, but then should I let my kids be in a relationship with somebody that I highly suspect is a narcissist? I don't know. I think I should. I think, I don't know. You can hear it in my voice probably. I'm extremely conflicted. I'm trying to decide what to do. So I have been in email contact, but should I call? Should I try to initiate something else? Should I visit my parents? What should I do? I should also add that my father told me that he thinks he has Parkinson's disease. He has a doctor's appointment. Actually, this is crazy. He can't get into the doctor till January, but he thinks he does. I don't know if that's true or not. but I feel like I am his daughter. Am I, because I look at the way that God wants me to be. Does it matter? Does it even matter? It's not like my ex, or it's not like I'm telling you, maybe I'll get remarried to him, or maybe we'll have a relationship. No, I'm talking about somebody that I can have some control over, somebody I can initiate, I can put boundaries up. But is it worth it? Should I just move on without them, or should I do something? Should I, while I still can? Joe's parents are not alive, so he has a perspective where he's looking at it like, Sharon, this could be the biggest mistake of your life. There's a chance to do it now. Should I? I don't know. Tell me what you think. I would love to hear what you have to say, because I am going crazy with this. So let me know. I will talk to you guys again soon. I'm going to have Paris on the channel soon. So look forward to that, hopefully this week. And I will talk to you guys later. I hope everybody has a great day. God bless.